This is part two to men impregnating women and leaving fatherless children uh, in the communities. Number one, I was mad at my father for not fathering me, and now I no longer father my children. Uh, Here's the thing: I wasn't taught how to be a good father, right? And I have the strangest conversations with my friends uh, to this day. You know, they always talk about all the wrong that their fathers have done, and then they in turn repeat that cycle, right? And it's the true pandemic within the communities, right? The true pandemic within the communities is uh, parents, these parents um, filtering all this garbage into the children, right? I suffered it and I reprojected that into my children. Um, went to prison for 14 years, and my daughter was 7 when I left. And now she's 18, and she's estranged from me. And um, we don't have that connection that we had when she was 7. And I understand why. Now, back then I didn't understand that I was reprojecting everything that my father had did. At one point I believe I hated my dad. And as I grew, I started to understand that hate was a bit too strong in that to judge him. And so I did dislike some things about our relationship. But here's the flip side of the coin. Now I become the pot calling the kettle black because I don't father my children, and it's a repeat offense. And this repeat offense, it comes from lack of awareness. It comes from a selfish standpoint, right? Because how could you, or let me speak for myself, how could I have a child and not go to that child's graduation, right? The reflection of me, my bloodline, right? My DNA. Um, I held that baby in the palm of my hands. And, you know, we talk about everything our parents did wrong. But now, when you do a self inventory or evaluate your situation, are you much better than the parents that actually raised you? Right? Have you become that parent that you actually disliked? Notice how I just said dislike, and I didn't use the word hate this time because that's not the true form of the process, right? The process is more of a forgiving process, right? And more of a awareness, right? Because we got a lot of young men out here in these communities, and they plaguing the planet with seeds. You just putting children on the planet. The spitting image of you, right? But do they have the school of thought, right? That school of thought, like, man, I want my son to be the best he could be. How can he be the best that he could be when you're not teaching him to be the best he can be? Let me show you. Most children go out and they become victim of peer pressure, right? Because of lack of information in the homes, right? Sex education, it starts within the home of the parent, right? Drug awareness, gang culture awareness, um, stealing, right? All these things have to be taught at a young age inside the home. Nobody ever sat me down and told me that it would be a grave consequence, right? Grave consequence for these infractions. Let me show you. You don't have the conversation about, because it's taboo with a child, about sex. So now your child is out there, and the child is in middle school. Your child is catching the bus with his or her friends, and then they go and they decide they want to ditch school one day. And now the subject matter comes up about sex. Guess what? Your child wants that exposure, right? Because mentally You didn't give them that exposure so they can say, oh, I'm aware, right? So they're unaware. So they're trying to become aware, and they become aware in the wrong way, right? So your son, let's use your son for instance. He's out, he's partying with his friends. He decides, today I'm really going to try to figure this thing out on my own since my dad won't talk to me about it or my mom won't talk to me about it. And 3 days later, he's at the doctor, STD, right? Or you wouldn't talk to him about drug awareness. So his friends say, it's cool, right? He said, maybe it's cool. Let me check it out. My pops didn't tell me about this. He didn't warn me about this. So maybe it's all right now. Now he flips out, right? And he's so high, and he don't even understand how to deal with this high. He runs out and he does something dumb, right? He's a child. Whose fault is this? It's the parent's fault, right? It's the parent's fault because the parent is the primary caregiver. And I, too, have dropped the ball in that area, and this is why through some of my fans know me through my downfalls and through my process and through my pains. I'm going to re-educate the communities. I'm going to re-educate not only young men, but older men that have the mentality of young men, right? That's just a childish mentality. I know some young men that are very responsible, more responsible than guys my age. So it's not about the age number. It's just basically about, getting it done, changing the community, changing these children, changing these children's attitudes, right? And just rebuilding, man. Let's rebuild. And thank you for supporting me. I have much more for you.